After Florida State gets rid of Mike Norvell, and let's hope they do, who should they hire as the next head coach? And can you come up with a realistic list? Let's talk about it on a live show here on Locked On Seminoles.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Seminoles live on a Sunday night. Checking it out with everything that's going on. Seems like every 10 seconds on all the different social media apps, hitting refresh. If you're like me, this is a fascinating time of year with Billy Napier getting fired. There's discussion about whether or not Mike Norvell is going to get fired on Monday morning. There's all kinds of things going on, and I want to get a pulse from the Florida State fans on what's going on, and this is going to be a lot of fun. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you can get $300 to use across the FanDuel app. Just hit the FanDuel app up and download it today. Let's talk a little bit before I jump into the chat, just my thoughts on who a tier one list would look like for a Florida State, a Penn State, those kinds of jobs. And before anybody asks, I'll talk about the Florida State rumors here in just a minute. But what does a tier one list look like, and what are the obstacles? I've got a bunch of people already commented in the chat. And by the way, thumbs up to those people. I'll be going through the chat here in a few minutes. But what does it look like? For me, it's pretty simple. There are two main things. Can they be not only an elite coach and an elite recruiter, but is it somebody that would fit the culture of your program? Got to have a fit. For instance, like for Florida State in the Southeast, would you call Matt Campbell at Iowa State? Sure. He's from Ohio. He's coached mostly in the Midwest. Now he's at Iowa State. Doesn't mean that he shouldn't be a candidate, but you really got to investigate that. And then secondarily, it's timing. This is the naughty word now in college football because of the portal and because of the playoff. Hear me out. If you're going to go after Marcus Freeman, Lane Kiffin, or anybody else that has aspirations of even possibly being in the playoff, you're talking about a coach that's going to be dialed in every second of every day, all the way through Thanksgiving weekend. And then they're trying to assemble their recruiting class because National Signing Day is the first Wednesday. So if you're going to hire somebody like that, you're pretty much bypassing all of that while leaving your players in limbo unless he's willing to announce, hey, I'm taking the Florida State job, the Florida job, the Penn State job, whatever it may be, and expect their AD at the school he's currently at, or Notre Dame or Ole Miss or whatever, to be cool with it. I don't see how that's going to work for any school. So there are a lot of names that people are throwing around, and they're on my A list, but I'm not sure how that's going to work. It's really fascinating, but how would Lane Kiffin navigate getting to Florida? That's a job that he's allegedly been interested in, and vice versa. How do they work that out? Kiffin has a chance to get the Rebels into the playoff. Do you really think he would just bypass all that? Because UF would want him. Hey, we need to finish this recruiting class. We need to get ready for the portal. We need to retain our – how many coaches are going to do that? You work all this time to assemble the talent, get to the playoff, and then you hand it over to somebody else? I don't think that's going to happen very many places. So with that, keep in mind that there are a lot of obstacles, and this is not an easy endeavor. The timing of all of it, to me, is the most fascinating, but we'll see how it goes. All right, I'm going to jump in the chat here, just kind of start reading. And if anybody has questions or comments, by all means, if you're in the chat tonight, fire away. I think you have to at least talk to Jimbo, James Franklin, or the coach from SMU. That's Rhett Lashley. That is from Big Kev, 5958. Lashley is somebody I actually put on my list here a little bit ago. He was the OC at Miami. He's been coach at Auburn, so he's coaching the Deep South. That's a possibility. SMU has really deep pockets, though. That's oil money you're competing with. Would that happen? I don't know. He just got a commitment from one of the top underclassmen quarterbacks, too, out of the state of Louisiana. Surfer, what's going on, man? No Jimbo, Prime, or Kiffin. Better off with Franklin, to be honest. Why do you say that? Franklin is not a big game coach. What is everybody's thoughts on Franklin? That's somebody – I'm not as high on him. I got him as tier 2 because I just don't think he can win big games. He's not proven to, but everybody seems to have a different opinion on him. almighty 5WWIKL. Franklin is not the answer unless you want to lose to Florida and Miami every year. That's the same thing that I'm saying. I'm not a James Franklin guy. Here is a name from left field, but he needs to show a little bit more. Tony Elliott from Virginia. I'll give Virginia credit. They're a heck of a lot better than they were. No doubt about it. Techmatex. Franklin, Fran Brown, Glenn Schumann. I'll attack that. Again, I'm not a Franklin guy. Everybody can have their own opinion. Fran Brown is a ridiculous recruiter. Not proven, but he can throw it around. What would he do with Florida State's resources in regards to location? I'd be fascinated by that. Glenn Schumann, I have two parts to this. Number one, he's been at Bama, Georgia. He's been under Kirby. He's the defensive coordinator at UGA. For those who don't know, he's a linebacker coach. But he was a lot better when Georgia had more talent. And here's what I mean. UGA's roster is not what it was because so many guys have left. They can't stockpile the kids and keep them there now that the portal's there. So I'm not quite as hot on Schumann as I used to be, but he is a pretty darn good coach. James Franklin is the best candidate. I disagree. And this is something I posted in the chat a little bit ago. Timing. Many of the best coaches are trying to make a playoff run. This is a reminder that's not good for coaching searches. It's just not. Has Mike been fired yet? To my knowledge, no. If he has, it's not public. Techmex. I think it'll be announced tomorrow. Very possible. That's what a lot of people think. A lot of money they're going to have to spend. Somebody did the calculation on one of the sites today. It's over $60 million just for the coordinators and Mike. That's not fun, but there's no shortcut here. Why is Norvell still the coach? Find the $60 million and have a La Vista. I'm not saying you're wrong. What's your opinion of Tony Elliott? I know he's at least shown us super a lot, but he can recruit Florida, and we need a coach who can do good at one and not the other. Yeah, that's true. Florida State's had too many coaches that were either a good recruiter or not a good coach, not a good recruiter, whatever. Got to have both. This is from Almighty. I don't know a ton about him. Being at Virginia, they've got strict academic standards, and they're still winning pretty good this year. He was under Dabo for a long time, so he's probably a pretty disciplined guy, probably faith-based, which will fit Tallahassee and North Florida. I don't know about the recruiting aspect as the head guy, though. That's a big one for me. There's just no answer. It'd be a risk. It'd be a risk. Arab 2020, is he fired yet? Please, breaking news. I have not heard that. I have not. Fire tomorrow morning is what everybody keeps saying, and this is from Super Elvis 1951. He says that as well. Hopefully. They keep feeding tidbits to appease the fan base. There's some truth in that. I'll just go ahead and give what I heard. I heard from somebody that represents one of the players that the players think Norvell's getting canned. I got a random text buddy of mine. He's in the business. Told me that a lot of the players think that Norvell's gone for whatever that's worth. Billy Norvell gone from Florida. Jay Norvell gone from Colorado State. Slipped off. War Chant board saying Alford didn't fly back with the team and went to pay Dan Mullen a visit. There's no way in hell they're getting Dan Mullen. Niners command, I think it's Franklin or Manny Diaz to coach us next. Manny would be interesting. I don't know if he can recruit at this level. I think he's a better fit at Duke. It's a possibility. If he leaves, I think Penn State would be the better fit there too. Kevin, has Mike put his Halloween decorations by the curb? Great question. He probably should. Common Sense 3921. Are we sure he's getting fired? I'm not. I'm just saying this is the stuff that I've heard. I have no conclusive evidence. Scotty Duke. I wasn't kidding. Franklin would be good also. Could be. All right, I'm going to hit a quick commercial break. I'm just going to do one. Then we're just going to go on for about a half hour or so, just talk football to get this one out of the way, and then we'll be back with more Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Put down $5, and you can win $300 if your first $5 bet wins. That's right, pick a bet. $5, and if it hits, you can unlock $300 in bonus bets across the FanDuel app. You can use it for over-unders. You can use it for halftime scores, player props, NFL MVP, or anything else that you want on the FanDuel app. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and check it out today. We're also brought to you by Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's one of the tools that help make a huge difference for any business, formerly known as Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with the new name. This is why it matters. Every customer counts, every conversation, every little bit of information. If you miss it, you're going to leave money on the table. Quo helps you stay connected 24/7, even when you're not available. Quo is the number one business phone system that streamlines all the things you need in your business, so communication with all your customers is consistent. With that, your AI agent from Quo is going to help you. It's a game changer. It's going to make sure you get all the messages. It's going to make sure everything is clear, everything is concise, so you don't leave any cash on the table. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo. Get started with free opportunities at 20% off for 6 months. Quo.com/LockedOnCollege. That's Quo.com. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right, let's jump back into the chat here and have some more fun. Let's see. We got a lot of Franklin people here. James Franklin is the best option. I totally disagree. I don't think you can win a title with him. Zuppet the God. I think the AD needs to save his job. A hire that buys him time is a big name. So Deion, Jimbo, or James Franklin. Deion's health tells me he's not going anywhere. He's got some concerns. They got to fix that. He keeps having recurring themes. I don't think anybody's going to hire him, period, because of that. Jimbo, could they hire him for a couple of years? Possibly. I mean, it's not out of the realm, but I don't even have him on my board because I don't know if he's actively looking. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. James Franklin, again, I'm not a James Franklin guy. I got a dark horse hire. Would make things interesting. John Gruden. I don't see that working out because I don't think John's idea of how recruiting should work would go over well in today's era, especially with NIL. He's a control freak. What about Jeff Brom, PJ Fleck, and Dillingham? Great questions. I was told, because I asked about the Florida job with somebody today, Florida reached out and they don't think that he wants to leave his alma mater. He's really tied into Louisville. No offense to him, but if you don't want the Florida job more than Louisville, you're just happy being at that town and in that environment. And that's fine. But Florida or Florida State are so much higher up in terms of consistent upside than Louisville. It's not even comparable. It's really not. On the Florida podcast, they said they're going to make Marcus Freeman or Brom tell them no, suggest Florida State does the same, and that's fine. Just as a backdrop, again, I just talked about Brom. It's hard to get guys to leave their alma mater, understandably. Freeman, like he had a chance to go down to LSU. His wife didn't like the South that much. Bid is a big part of it. They're Midwest people. I doubt he leaves Notre Dame unless it's for Ohio State, and I don't think Ryan Day's going anywhere. Let's see. We need an adrenaline shot. Ambience entertain, says Prime. I don't think Prime's going anywhere because I don't think anybody wants to deal with his health concerns. Common sense, says Jeff Brom. I would be like, could you imagine what Jeff Brom would do if he came to Florida State or Florida, either one of those jobs, even Penn State? I mean, he's getting guys to score touchdowns and putting guys in the league at Louisville. Imagine what Penn State, Florida State could do with Jeff Brom. Holy moly. Lane Kiffin is not going to Florida State. I don't think he is either, but you got to call him if you end up making a move. PJ Fleck, I think he's pretty locked in at Minnesota. Minnesota's not really a football power. I think Fleck would like if Florida offered Fleck the job, he'd leave tomorrow. Florida State may be the same. Like Florida's probably the better job because it's in Florida. You just recruit, but it's got the SEC. But if he wants to stay at Minnesota regardless, good luck to him. I could see Penn State or somebody taking a run just to see what the temperature is there, though. I don't know if he'd be a fit in the South either. Let's see here. Tequitex. He has more resources staying in the SEC. Jeff Brom fits better than James Franklin. 100%. 100%. I think Brom, because he's an offensive-minded coach, would fit in Florida in particular. They want offensive coaches. But I think Florida State fans would love to see somebody that could actually score some points too. No, James Franklin fits way better. I disagree with that. You can't be serious. Annexon, Urban Meyer. No, that's not happening. James Franklin, Mike Elko, Lane Kiffin, Brian Hartline would be my first looks. That's from Josh Johnson. Brian Hartline? That's interesting. FSU should not pursue on Brom and should put pressure on Brom and make him tell Florida State no. That's from Almighty. I agree. I think he would be an excellent hire. Zion, no Jimbo. No argument. No argument at all. Super Elvis, 1951. Anybody that thinks Mike Norvell hired and get rid of him because none of them, to me, is worth a damn. Huh? It is what it is. L Proof 8472. Whoever it is, it can't be a player's coach. This team is desperate for a structured disciplinarian. Personally, I'd love Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly would be a horrible hire. Not a bad one, horrible. Just take my word for it. He does not fit this new age of player. LSU's ready to run him out of Dodge. He does not like recruiting at all. He kind of does it. He fancies himself as an NFL coach in college. It's not how it works. They might lose 2 or 3 more games at LSU. Do not be surprised if he gets canned. Fred the Head 2. No, Franklin can't win the Big Ten, much less ACC. Franklin is a 4-raiser. Can maybe get him for cheap too. I don't think that's the case. He's not going to come cheap. He's not. That's from Alex Beckham. I think there'll be a lot of cash attached to his name. Why does everybody keep saying John Gruden? Fred the Head. Gruden would be a terrible fit in college. Eric Morse. Florida State had their shot at Coach Prime. He wanted the job. Florida State didn't want him. I don't think Florida State would want the cameras and everything. He gets the power and control at Colorado. Yeah, I don't think that's a good fit for him at a lot of places, to be honest. James Franklin is a great program builder. He can recruit his ass off and develop NFL talent. That's true, but he's also awful in big games. He is terrible. He's only won 1 game against a major team in like the last 5 to 8 years. He's just terrible at it. Rozzy says, Manny Diaz, why? I'm not saying you shouldn't call and at least inquire, but what makes you can suddenly recruit at this level? Matters of the Heart, Jane A. Somebody just said Urban Myers. I love that. Yeah, I don't see Urban Meyer. Manny Diaz, no, says Zion. Yeah, I agree. That's not going to happen. Fred the Head, Jimbo, no way. Couldn't do it at A&M. He washed out. Who is it? Brandon Staley. Who's Brandon Staley? That's a name I know. Is that? Who is Brandon Staley? That's probably a coach that I should know, but I am not familiar with it. Somebody wants to add on to who that is? Fire away. Let's see here. Here's another one. Pixel Camper, Key Way, Eli from Mizzou, Heartland. I mean, I'm not sure what you're not spelling very well there, so I don't know who you're talking about. Let's see here. Rannickson, Urban Meyer is sure fixed. A great recruiter. Urban is not coming to Florida State, brother. Got to be Jimbo, Key, Georgia defensive coordinator, or Brian Hartline? No. Urban Meyer has questionable morals. Questionable? I think he goes a little beyond that. He's been, yeah, that's just not going to fly. Let's see. We owe him a lot of money, but we will lose a lot more money if we keep him. Post of the day, referring to what's going on right now with the ridiculousness of this coaching situation. Let me address that real quick. There is no friendly here for Florida State. They're going to lose no matter what they do. And here's what I mean. Financially, you're going to get destroyed. If you fire him, obviously all that money, hiring a new staff, all that, that's concrete. On the other side, here's where it gets really dicey and potentially worse. If you keep him, as Super Elvis brings up in this point here, not only are you still paying Norvell to be your coach, he's not the guy, obviously. You're not going anywhere, obviously. How many big money boosters within the next year to say, screw you guys, I'm out? How much money does that equate to? A lot. So, by the way, Super Elvis, great point. FSU fumbled the Coach Prime hire. At least the marketing revenue would have been there, mediocre for years to come. Let's see. James Fountain, 6183. James Franklin can recruit and build a program. If you want to be 8-4 to 9-2 or 9-3, maybe 10-2, I think you can do that. but I just don't think he's going to win you a title. He'd do pretty well, though. Heart attack, Urban, no way. Look at Rhett Lashley from Josh Johnson. I agree. I think he's a young coach. He coached at the University of Miami. He's coached at Auburn. He understands offensive football. He's worth a shot. Almighty, give Brom the bag. I'm down with that. Anybody that posts Urban Meyer or John Gruden from this point out, I'm not posting it up here on the thing. It ain't going to be either one of them. Let's see. Chief Black J2J. Thoughts on the Washington head coach coming to Tally? Jeb Fish is a Florida grad, a Florida fan, a Florida fanatic. He ended up being a student intern or something like that at UF. You know how he got the job? He used to leave notes on Steve Spurrier's car until he annoyed Spurrier to death. He ain't coming here. Florida would be his dream job. So, and he's got a really good young quarterback. Damon Williams, if you haven't seen him at Washington, he's quite entertaining. Let's see. Super Elvis offer went to the athletic director went to Cali, but did not come back with the team. He's with some family. And many sources, Norvell will be fired between 8 and 11. That would not surprise me. Not surprise me at all. Let's see. I'm surprised more people haven't said this. Fran Brown, Jeff Brom, there's Franklin again, Tony Elliott. That is from RW Knows. Again, I'm okay with the idea of Fran Brown. That's a possibility. I'm all in on Jeff Brom. Franklin, I'm lukewarm on at best. Elliott, I don't have enough information. Tony Elliott is a good football coach, but he's never been the head guy at a major P4 job. Not picking on Virginia. But to recruit there is different because it's an elite academic school. It's kind of like Notre Dame, Northwestern, Duke, Vanderbilt, Stanford. How would he do as the head guy? Now, he was at Clemson for a long time, and he recruited well there. But how would he do as a head guy at Florida State, at Florida, at Penn State, at Texas, at LSU? That's a different animal. And to handle that is a lot to ask. I'm curious to see what happens there, though. If you've got comments or questions and you're just joining the chat, jump in, man. Fire away. Let's see here. Just let Gus finish the season and find a coach. That's not a bad idea. Gus could probably do that. But at the same time, he's buddies. I don't know how they would do it. It'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. What about Mark Stoops? He could raise the floor and would have more resource in Kentucky, who's all in on basketball. Stoops isn't a bad coach. It's just he looks at offensive football like the United States looks at the Soviet Union's government. Like he just doesn't like it. I don't think that would fly at Florida State, but it's not outside the box completely. Brian Hartline, the perfect coach. How is that possible? It's his first year, second year being coordinator, whatever. I think it's his first. He has no head coaching experience. Pass. Let's see. I think Tony White needs to be the one taking most of the heat. He has been so stubborn with what he's done, and his system doesn't fit the linebackers that there's some truth in that. Super Elvis, people, do your homework. Franklin has the worst record playing top teams. Amen to that. I have heard the money thing being offered in buyouts and new staff is $100 million. Yeah. Could be. Depends on how many years and all that. Could end up hiring somebody like John Summerall from Tulane. Who knows? Inside source, is Norvell gone in the morning? Possibly. Let's see. Let's see what this one is. Rod Stoudemire, recruiting overlord. What do you think about Joe Brady, LSU former offense coordinator? I met him once. Neat guy. Super intelligent. Hates, not dislikes, hates recruiting. He's out. He doesn't like college because of recruiting. That's the number one thing you got to do. So he'll never be back. Let's see. Let's see here. Great hire, who's no BS, is John Gruden. Not a chance. John Gruden is not coming to Florida State. Team record now is 3-4, which is absolutely pathetic. Jameis made Jimbo. If it wasn't for Jameis, we wouldn't have made the national title game. I don't know if he made him, but I mean, that guy was a great college player. Let's see. Not hiring someone who got fired in the same year. That happens at the pro level, like NBA and stuff, but there's some truth in that. This is another interesting one. Brian Haynes and Mike Shanahan. That's the defense coordinator and offense coordinator in Indiana. Well, at least one of those guys is getting a job somewhere. Let's see. They have worked for 12 years under Cignetti, are young and really innovative. I'm not totally against it. I mean, they don't have the head coaching experience, but it's a pretty good guy to learn under. James Franklin is a fraud. He can't develop players. Thumbs down. Let's see. How about Brian Flores? I forget where he's even at, to be honest. The unrealistic post of the day. Dan Lanning from Oregon. Fred the head. Not happening, brother. With Oregon's money, he's not coming to Florida State. Florida State's problem is money. You're not going to give that opportunity up. What is wrong with this? Why am I not getting this to load? Very odd. Winky, maybe? Winky's not even a coordinator at Georgia Tech. 21 writer. Whoever it is has to come from the Nick Saban tree and have ties to the Miami area, or I don't want him, period. That's a pretty limited list right there. Here's an interesting one. Multi-Cante 3978 says, should be looking at the Louisville coach, Jeff Brom. No doubt about it. Let's see. Should have hired Brom instead of Mike, but it's too late. He's not leaving his alma mater for Florida State. Probably not. Probably not. Hire the coach from Oregon, Fred the head. Fred, it's not happening, brother. It's not happening. It's just not happening. All right. I think that'll do it. A few more comments before I wrap up here. Number one, thank you for everybody that are checking in. I'll be checking everything early in the morning. Make sure you check YouTube Shorts and all that kind of stuff. My X handle at FBScout_Florida, not just for UF or Florida State or Penn State. Coaching news, recruiting news, all of it impacts Florida State. Because when one school gets somebody, it takes from another and vice versa. There's going to be assistant coaching news, a lot of stuff going on. The Portal podcast, I just posted something for the morning for Napier. Like this stuff constantly changes. It's pretty wild. I don't know how many guys are going to lose their jobs, but by the way, just for fun, these are the other jobs. Keep this in mind. This is really important. Actually, I'm glad I thought of this before I got out of here. These are the jobs I think that are going to come open, or there's at least a good chance. So this is competition. LSU, Michigan State, Auburn, and Wisconsin. And NC State probably too. So it's not just the head coach, it's assistants. Coaches, like recruits, go with friends, go with people they know. This is going to be the busiest cycle for coaches in recent memory. It's going to be crazy. There could be a few lateral moves. You never know. But overall, I think the biggest thing to see here, no doubt about it, is that the Florida job right now, it kind of sets the market. If Florida State gets involved, that's close. I would rank the Florida job just a teeny bit above Florida State. But those two jobs plus Penn State already, and we're not even in November. I mean, if the LSU job opens, Auburn, that's a lot of stuff going on, man. This is going to be wild, and I'm here for it. So please like and subscribe. Make sure you check out Locked On Seminoles multiple times a day, especially my X handle at FBScout_Florida. Again, FBScout_Florida. We will see you again later on today.